Jaya Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Gaura Chandra Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Gadadhar Jaya Srinivas Jaya Mukunda Vasudevi Jaya Haridas.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to our second episode of Every Town and Village, our series that we're going to be exploring every day from now until Gaur Purnima, the principles, the strategies that Srila Prabhupada employed to achieve and to further the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that his holy name would be heard in every town and village. We're going to be continuing today and every day on this, basically this same time. And please do make sure that you are following and subscribing and so on, so you get to know what's coming up. This evening, in our time, I'm in Mayapur, morning for our guest, Mahatma Prabhu. He's going to come on and continue our exploration in the topic of the internal mood of the Sankirtan devotees. So welcome, Mahatma.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Aren't you in that place? I heard that Srila Prabhupada described it to being far, far away.
Yeah, that's why I'm coming to Mayapur soon. So I'm far away from our home in the center of the universe.
Yes,
but there's a lot going on over here, so we've made this another center also.
Yes, yes. And that's one of the principles, isn't it, of Sankirtan, that Mayapur comes along with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We bring the Dham. We're supposed to bring the Dham, yeah.
Okay, great. So let us begin. I don't need to introduce Mahatma to the audience in a great way, because we have the details and descriptions and bios in our post. Either you're on Facebook or on YouTube, you can read everything there and catch up. But I think most people in our audience will already know about you and heard from you and are looking forward, as I am, to this evening or morning, whichever the case may be.
Hare Krishna.
So, Hare Krishna. The internal mood of the Sankirtan devotee. So this is your topic. Okay. Let's hear from you. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to hear?
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sanyavari Paschachit Satarine Panchakapa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvyeva Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mukam Karati Vachalam Pangolam Gayate Girin Yakapatamaham Bande Sikaru Dinataninam. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Well, in the title, there's the word Sankirtan devotee. So the first thought that comes to mind, that word denotes a devotee who distributes books, which is true, but not the only Sankirtan devotee. And of course, anything we do to spread Krishna consciousness means we're a Sankirtan devotee. So, but it seems specifically this discussion is a little bit about the frontline preaching. What's the mood when you're going out and trying to wake up conditioned souls or bring them closer to Krishna? I have two thoughts about the mood of Sankirtan. Well, I have more than two, but two basic categories. And this is based on my study of Prabhupada and his mood, what he did. And I have long been addicted to hearing everything I can possibly hear about Srila Prabhupada. It's like my hobby, you could say. And I listen over and over again to the same memories, or read the same books over.
Yes.
And I just it's my addiction. I can't give it up. And so, but when you do that, it starts to become obvious there's a certain mood there, because, different devotees recall different
Yes.
experiences and pastimes, and you start to see patterns. And I've come to see or try to look at what is Prabhupada's his mood, because we're supposed to represent that mood or try to emulate it or get infected by it. And the two things that stand out to me, and it may not obviously only be two, but for me, two things that stand out is what I want to call Dharma-sindhu and karuna. Well, karuna-sindhu, of course, is a common Sanskrit. We never say Dharma-sindhu, the ocean of Dharma.
The ocean of Dharma. Okay, no, that would be a new one.
That's a new. Okay, it's a new. You've got a new word today. It is manifested, probably nowhere in Shastra, but I think it's a perfectly good word. Sometimes we put Sindhu to mean, but Sindhu is ocean, so we mean something that's very deep. So we say karuna-sindhu, very deep compassion, like an ocean, fathomless. Fathomless Dharma. These are, to me, these are the two tracks of the internal mood of a Sankirtan devotee. You're connected with the mission, and your dharma to the mission, your duty to the order of the disciplic succession is deep. It is your life. No matter how compassionate you feel or don't feel, or whatever mood you're in, this dharma, that your guru says, do this, that's it. You know this story where Prabhupada told Giriraj Swami, you should write, but tentatively, he was dealing with other situations and he couldn't write. And he told Prabhupada, now I can't write. There are these other emergencies. And Prabhupada said, that's okay, but never forget the instruction. That when your guru gives you instruction, don't forget it. So we see that with Prabhupada, right? Was it 1923 that he?
1922. In fact, this is the year. This is the 100th anniversary.
Oh, so this is, so the opening of the temple and
that's why Ultadunga Road was our
amazing.
Inaugural function. It is amazing, by the way, just a little plug. If you haven't watched, you can get a little bit of a tour. We recorded it, but when you come, you have to go there. It's magic.
Wow.
Magic.
I didn't realize, the impact till I saw the video. It's like, like we actually own this building, and it was completely refurbished to its original standard. But I believe it's probably better than its original standard. It's so beautiful.
Well, it's probably much better than when they got it, because this was a rented place.
Yeah.
So when it was constructed probably at least 20, 30 years earlier. So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur rented it for 50 rupees a month, then it probably wasn't in such a great shape as now it is. It's like brand new.
Yeah, I honestly didn't really. I was, I have so many things on my mind, so I wasn't paying so much attention until I saw the video, and I became ecstatic when I saw that. It was like, it's almost like the opening of what it's going to be like the opening of Mayapur Temple. It was very emotional. Oh my God, we got that property. We've refurbished it. This is amazing.
It is
so
amazing.
I've always embedded in my heart this moment where Prabhupada got that instruction, and he was newly married, and in his own words, he said it wasn't possible. But the fact that he never forgot it, and when Prabhupada left, so we go 1922, so we go 43 years later, 1965, that instruction is still fresh as if he just got it. So that's why I call it Dharma-sindhu. It's like, this is what the disciplic succession wants. It's a dharma. This is what you should do. Whatever level of compassion you have is another thing. Obviously, you're a Vaishnava, you have compassion. The more you have, the better. It's a great motivation, and we'll talk about it. But this is also so important. So now, sometimes we see Prabhupada traveling around the world, and we're all amazed at how he flew into new time zones without jet lag and so forth. I don't think he didn't have jet lag. I just think he didn't give into it, because there's a letter in which Prabhupada said, it was probably like 75, maybe 76, maybe even as early as 74, said, I can't do these long flights anymore. It's too taxing on my body. But if I didn't read that letter, I would have never known, because he never complained, right? I mean,
Yes,
he came in and he just adjusted, no extra rest, and everyone else is exhausted. So it's not that he wasn't exhausted. It's not that it wasn't difficult to get up after 2 hours sleep every night to translate and stay awake. But the dharma, the duty, this is the order. This is what my spiritual master wants me to do. So I'm doing it. And a lot of times, we undergo inconveniences. And so Prabhupada once told Chittsugananda, when there was going to be a program late at night, and he was saying, Prabhupada, you don't have to go, because I don't want to inconvenience you. And there were millions of people, it was a TV show, we're going to watch. And Prabhupada said, if I cared about my convenience, I couldn't preach. So we definitely see in Prabhupada's mission, convenience and comfort was not on his mind. You know that morning walk when they said, Prabhupada, does the spiritual master take the karma of the disciple? And he said, yes. Therefore, it is said, one should not take many disciples. You know that morning walk? And then Prabhupada said, but we are prepared to go to hell for Lord Chaitanya. And the other story where this man, he had, he's a spiritualist, he had some vision, and he went to see Prabhupada and said, this murti you have on the altar in Vrindavan. This man was meeting Prabhupada in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada was sick. He said, your people's karma is going to you through this murti. And you know what Prabhupada said? He said, yes, I know. The man said, take it off. He said, no. He said, yes, I know. So that was like Prabhupada's service was to suffer like that. So I once met a man. He had helped us in Mauritius. And Prabhupada had asked him to help. And the movement was young there, and we didn't always do things properly. So one time he and I were talking, and he said, I've helped you in so many ways. He gave us a farm. Whenever there was difficulty, he would talk with the prime minister or other ministers to solve the problem, help us with passports, visas, whatever. And sometimes we didn't comply exactly with the local laws, and it created problems, and he had to save us. And so he was a little frustrated with that. And aside from that, he was an Iyer Samajist. Doesn't even believe in the deity. But he met Prabhupada in India. He came to Mauritius, and this man, Mr. Tilak, hosted Prabhupada. So he went everywhere with Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, please help me spread this movement. So one time Mr. Tilak told me something that really stuck with me. He was complaining about all the ways he had to help us get out of the messes which we created. And then he was reflecting, and he said, I don't even know why I keep helping you. And then he thought, and a few seconds later he said, I know why. It's because your Prabhupada asked me. And that really struck me. This is something missing in modern society, that commitment, that integrity, that you're asked to do something, you acknowledge it, you accept it, and that becomes what motivates you. Like, I was having a discussion yesterday with a devotee about this question, why somebody leaves ISKCON, why somebody doesn't. And I'm not here to judge or condemn anyone who left ISKCON. That's not the point of this. But I was just asking myself, why haven't I left? And asking myself, why haven't others left? And we have, for convenience sake, there may be many reasons that it would be easier to leave. Just do your own thing. It's easier. Or you might even say better or more effective even. But we all know why we're here, because Prabhupada said, stay and work from the inside to improve it. So that's the order. Whether we like it or not, that's the order. So we do it. So Prabhupada, he's walking, this picture of Prabhupada walking onto the Jaladuta. What a picture that is. That, to me, personifies Dharma-sindhu and karuna-sindhu. Because we have to put this in context. We know it's an amazing, that moment is, I think, the most amazing, and in a sense, him meeting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and then him getting on that boat are like the two foundational amazing Ascharyavat, as Krishna says, amazing. The two most amazing pivotal moments in ISKCON's history. The seed was planted in the heart of a Dharma-sindhu person who can't forget it, who gets on the boat and does it. It's amazing in so many ways, but if we put it in context, it's not like Prabhupada's godbrothers are lining up to get on the boat with him or have attempted to get on the boat and do it before him. Only a few who were ordered by Bhaktisiddhanta, but they came back. It wasn't successful. They couldn't make it successful, so they had to give it up. And so I began thinking on Nityananda's appearance day. This is more unique, more special. It makes Prabhupada more special than maybe we have considered, because his dharma, his connection with that order, his dharma and his compassion had to be extremely deep to get him on that boat. And so in meditating on this, I was thinking, okay, you have all these exalted godbrothers, like amazing devotees, many great renunciates, great scholars, born in very elevated families. Somehow or other, it was only Prabhupada who did it. And we have been told that order was not just for Prabhupada. The order was given to everybody. It's very interesting meditation. Only one person executed an order which was given to everybody. Hare Krishna. So that's very moving when we think about the depth of Prabhupada's commitment. But simultaneously, the Monday was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance day. So as you hear and you read about Bhaktisiddhanta, one thing becomes evident. You start seeing these connections between what Prabhupada taught and what Bhaktisiddhanta taught. Sometimes exact answers that Prabhupada gave that we didn't know were verbatim answers that his Guru Maharaj gave, because he didn't always say my Guru Maharaj said. And he just said it, and then we read, oh, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that's exactly what he said. Oh, interesting. Prabhupada's giving the exact same answer. And this keeps coming up. This fidelity to Bhaktisiddhanta in words, and then fidelity in mission. Then you start to see, you learn about the history, and you see things that Bhaktisiddhanta did. You think, oh, that's why Prabhupada's doing that. He got that, he understood. He understood Bhaktisiddhanta. He understood his heart. And I think that's part of the Dharma. So, as we know, Prabhupada said, I noticed, Bhaktisiddhanta said, I would sell the marble to print books. And so Prabhupada said, I noticed that book printing was very important for him. And that's why, of course, Prabhupada was ordered to preach in the West, which means writing books, but he noticed how important publishing was and distribution of books was. So Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam, we can say Sri Siddhanta Saraswati Manobishtam, Prabhupada understood the heart and mind. I think that's part of this Dharma-sindhu, that this is the Dharma of my Guru becomes my Dharma, my duty, the family business, as by Shaker's book. Our family business becomes our business, handed down to us. There is another parallel also, which is very interesting, which is not I wouldn't say in the category of Dharma, but the category of great personalities who are destined to do great things. When Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was beginning to launch his mission, he had a vision that the entire Panchatattva and his father, Gorkashore Das Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji, and maybe more, came to him and said, "We are backing you. Just spread this mission. We will take care of everything." Prabhupada had the same with Rupa Goswami, saying, "Just go. We will take it. Just write your books. We will take care of everything." So I found that, just as a side point, very inspirational, very moving. This is the great, how the great personalities are guided. And now, so Prabhupada comes. He comes. What does he come with? You say, well, he comes with books. In Prabhupada's mind, it was more than that. He's coming with faith in the order of his Guru. My Guru told me to do this. This is what my Guru wanted. This is my duty. And for Prabhupada, of course, it was obvious because his Guru came and told him, no, you have to leave family life and you have to do this. And there's an interesting conversation. I don't know if you're aware of this conversation, but it was in Prabhupada's, the last few months. And then one doctor came that Prabhupada liked a lot. And the doctor gave him a regimen of medicines. And so Prabhupada was asking his servants, where are the medicines? Do you have the medicines? Do you know what is to be given at what time and how much? He was asking. And sometimes the devotees were thinking, I don't know if this is going to help. And Prabhupada would say, no, it's the doctor's orders. We must follow the doctor. So we see this was Prabhupada's general mentality, follow authority. If the authority says do this, you do it. You have faith in the authority. So one time, Prabhupada said, maybe more than once, he said, I don't know what the result of book distribution will be. Because sometimes he said, no, this will have a particular effect. We should distribute books. Someday people will come to understand this movement. By book distribution, so many things will happen. But other times, he said, he was trying to make a point about faith. He said, I don't know the effect of book distribution, but Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked us to do it. So therefore, I'm doing it. At another time, he asked, why are we distributing books? And devotees gave different answers to enlighten people, educate, and so forth. And Prabhupada said, no, we're distributing books because we want to see Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur smile. So as I study Prabhupada, I see that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's mood, Sri Chaitanya Mano, his mind, Abhishtam, his desire, Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Mano Abhishtam, his mind and desire is placed in Prabhupada's heart deeply, more deeply than any of his godbrothers, deeply enough that it pushed him. But I don't want to minimize the other equation, the other side, which is Prabhupada's compassion. Because when I think of what is pushing Prabhupada to come to the West, I don't want to say it's just duty, it's just Dharma. And I just want to preface this, like whatever I'm saying about Prabhupada, I mean this is the internal mood of the Sankirtan devotee. But I'm using Prabhupada as the example of these moods. So I'm not saying this is Prabhupada and not us. I'm saying, no, this is what it means. What it means, duty and compassion, these things are the internal mood. So in saying Prabhupada was duty-bound, sometimes we find that one can be duty-bound and not compassionate, and then the compassion evolves through the duty because you're, as Prabhupada said, you're serving the mission of compassion, So your compassion will awaken by doing that. As I said, what do? I don't have compassion. Serve the movement of compassion. It will develop. But a higher stage, of course, is to be motivated by that compassion. So we see in Prabhupada's life that the suffering of conditioned souls was his suffering. And this is a quality of a pure Vaishnava. They're pained. They're actually pained. It's an emotional experience. They're actually pained. They feel the pain of conditioned souls. And they feel the pain even that the conditioned soul is not feeling, because in illusion, the conditioned soul thinks they're happy. Ignorance is bliss. But the pure devotee, he's feeling their pain because he understands their entanglement. So there are numerous ways in which we can see that Prabhupada was feeling the pain. One example, well, I'll give the example in a minute. I wanted to say that the boat, the Jaladuta, Prabhupada's coming to America, it looked like he was on the Jaladuta, but what actually brought Prabhupada to America was this Dharma-sindhu and karuna-sindhu. Otherwise, he would have never got on the boat. So the boat's just the medium, but the real thing I think we should see is that what blew, so to speak, Prabhupada over the Atlantic was his compassion and his dedication to the mission, and understanding it and dedicated it and unfailing in his steadiness and executing it. So there's a story which some of you may know. It's kind of, you could say, it's an interesting history to see how out of sync the leaders were on this one point from Prabhupada, and how in sync Prabhupada was with the compassion of his spiritual master, who was always thinking this has to go around the world. So in one of the GBC meetings during Prabhupada's time, I don't know why they were discussing this. It seems a very personal issue according to the temple, but in our temples, we wanted everyone to join. We wanted to give everyone a chance. And so if a single woman with a child wanted to be a devotee, we would make room for them. We'd give them a little room, a little space. They would get prasadam. And of course, they were somewhat limited in the amount of service they could render. Sometimes there would be a nursery school. They could put their children there and do some service. But it was still more limited, obviously, than a brahmachari or brahmacharini, and it was 2 people or 1 and a third person. So, it was a little more expensive. So the GBC was looking at this, and they passed a resolution that no temple should allow a woman with a child to live in the temple. In other words, be supported. It was a financial consideration. It was considered a burden, maybe occupying space that could be used otherwise. Maybe there were many practical considerations. So the custom was that when Prabhupada was here, the GBC would bring the resolutions to Prabhupada and read them. And so they read this to Prabhupada. Usually when they read a resolution, Prabhupada would just, kind of nod his head like, okay. And generally he didn't disagree. But this time, when they read it to him, he didn't nod his head, and he closed his eyes, and he was thinking. And Satsarup Maharaj said, Srila Prabhupada, so we should delete this resolution. And Prabhupada didn't say anything for a moment. He was just sitting. And then Prabhupada said, I just want to give everyone the opportunity to be Krishna conscious. So if we translate that in the context of what I am speaking about here, I see this, I will rephrase this as Prabhupada is saying, my heart burns to see the suffering of the conditioned souls. I just want to somehow or other give everyone a chance to become Krishna conscious. So the Sankirtan devotee, in his perfected state, he is motivated, tremendously motivated by the reality that people are suffering, but not only that, but by the emotional experience, it actually pains him. It's difficult for him to live and see this suffering and in any way turned a blind eye to it. So when we see the Sankirtan devotee giving up so many personal conveniences, doing so many austerities, management is a huge austerity. I'm not just talking about going out on Sankirtan, Harinam, or book distribution, but managing, putting on festivals, huge austerities involved in that. And they don't seem very concerned about their personal convenience, because as they travel, there's inconveniences. They don't know. Different bed every few nights, different pillow, different food. Traveling is not fun. Some of you who don't travel think it's fun. Yeah, if you don't travel, it's fun. But if you travel every 3 days, it's not fun. It's very tiring. It's very difficult. And so what is going on in the heart of these Sankirtan devotees that's empowering them or inspiring them? It's this mood that I cry to see the suffering of the conditioned souls. Now, if you read Prabhupada's Viraha Ashtakam, he's crying in that. He's crying about what happened to the Gaudiya Math. He said this was a movement that was spread all over India, that was saving so many people, and then it split. It lost its potency. And Prabhupada's crying now to see what it could have been, and it's not. And not just because it's an institution that should be successful, but he's thinking of the conditioned souls that could have been saved, that are now floundering in Maya and suffering and going to take birth and death again. I think another aspect of Prabhupada's feeling the suffering of the conditioned souls was that he represented Nityananda Prabhu's mood in unlimited forgiveness. And no matter what his disciples did, no matter how bad it was, as long as they sincerely repented and they sincerely wanted to take up Krishna consciousness, I would never reject them. Never, 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 ever. As long as they were willing to acknowledge their mistakes and go forward. And sometimes devotees would come to Prabhupada, like who'd given up their service, given up sannyas, and they would come back later, maybe a year later, and they're just feeling like Prabhupada had rejected them, that what they did was so horrible. And Prabhupada was very cordial, welcoming them, very loving. And they would ask, Prabhupada, you didn't reject me? And Prabhupada would say, how can I reject you? You've done so much service. I appreciate what you've done so much. One of our godbrothers, Siddha Sarup, he separated from ISKCON, and that caused a lot of angst amongst leaders. And sometimes they would speak negatively, and Prabhupada would stop them and say, no, he's my disciple. So Prabhupada had great affection for him, even though other Prabhupada disciples didn't. And so you couldn't make Prabhupada hard-hearted. You couldn't just come and say, this devotee's doing that and this is bad, and now Prabhupada would become hard-hearted. Tell him to go. We never want to see him again. No, never like that. So the point of this is that as a devotee progresses in spiritual life, the 26 qualities develop, and one of them is compassion. Kripalu. So as our compassion develops, we can't actually refrain or contain ourselves from giving mercy. Now, a lot of devotees, they work very hard, and sometimes their disciples say, oh, Guru Maharaj, slow down, you're doing too much. And they're never able to slow down their spiritual master. Why can't they slow him down? It's that compassion is driving, moving them. It's look at Prabhupada. You couldn't slow him down. So that's my conclusion about the main two factors of the internal mood. And I want to tell a couple stories, and then I guess we have time for questions. You want me to end like in 5 or 10 minutes? Is that it? What's the schedule?
By the way, I've been listening very intently in the background. Okay. I did have some glitches which I had to sort out, but yes, we do have time, and we'd love to have questions,
Okay.
reflections also. But we also want stories.
Okay, two stories.
Yesterday, so let's hear the stories, and then we'll come to the.
This is two stories from Vancouver, and this is 1970. So, very young movement, very young devotees, and Vancouver in the winter. Vancouver in the winter is a little cold, a little icy sometimes. And our service was, the four of us in the temple, our service was from around 10 o'clock till 6 o'clock. We would go downtown and do Harinam Sankirtan. Maybe three of us chant and one distribute books, magazines, and then we'd switch. It was a little austere. And we were young devotees, and it was a lot warmer inside the temple, and it's just easier, right? And so when it came time to get everyone on Sankirtan, practically, as I remember it, I had to kind of push them out, like get a big broomstick and just walk through the temple and catch everyone in the broomstick and just direct them to the doorway. That's my remembrance of it. It was never easy. And every day it was like that because it was austere to go out. And, even if the weather was nice, just, you for every magazine you distribute, which wasn't many in those days, you'd probably offer it to 200-300 people before someone would take it. And of course, there's hundreds of people walking by. So, how long does it take to offer it? It takes time. We're talking like half hour, 35 minutes. Finally, somebody takes it, and in between, you're just offering. It was difficult. So these are the kind of things we're thinking of the devotees are thinking of when I say, well, let's go out on Sankirtan. Everybody knew they had to go, but it just, what it's like when you don't want to do something. It putts around, right? But when it came time to go back at 6 o'clock, I'm not exaggerating. This is exactly what happened. And it happened every day. Nobody wanted to go back because they're thinking, there's another person. If we go back, maybe he'll take a book, or maybe he'll hear the holy name. Everything shifted. Everything shifted by the act of giving Krishna consciousness. So we know, give mercy, get mercy. I think that's a topic for another talk. And then I specifically remember this one young devotee. This is 51 years ago. Why would I remember? And this is a moment in time 51 years ago. You know how memory is? Like you remember something and you don't know why, but it's actually significant. And you realize 50 years later, well, this was significant. That's why I remembered it. So some days we didn't go out doing Harinam Sankirtan, but we went door to door. And in those days, a lot of women were not working, or say more were home. So you could just go door to door during the day, and you would meet a lot of women, and or around student areas. Lots of students were there. So this one young devotee was in the van. I think it was all men, and I was driving, and she was next to me, so she was in the front. And same thing. Time for Sankirtan. No, we have to go out. And so we went out door to door. And so it's the end of the day, and we're driving back through a neighborhood. And, there's a few people walking through, and she's going, and she's saying to me, we can't go back. There's another person. Why don't you stop? I could give him a book. Maybe we could save him. Like the whole way back, she's saying, why do we have to go back? There's another person, just just stop for a minute. I'll give him a book. So this is the compassion of a devotee, and this compassion evolves through just being compassionate. And so it's, devotional service is like that. You have to do it to get it. So if you don't have it, you still act like you have it. And then that quality starts to manifest in you. And so as that compassion increases, you become more determined. You get more ideas because you can't stand to see the conditioned souls suffering. And you can't stand to see this great mission that Prabhupada created not succeed. That would be like the worst nightmare for you if it didn't succeed. And we let down Prabhupada in our Dharma, and then all these conditioned souls would suffer. So those are 2 points. I'm sure those are not the only 2, but those are 2 that came to my mind that really stand out in Prabhupada's life. For me personally, obviously there's more in Prabhupada's life. Hare Krishna.
And that will be also how we're going to try to explore during this next almost 20-some days.
Yeah,
I find this very interesting. Yesterday, Bhaktivedanta Maharaj started our series, and he was also talking about the need for a devotee to develop that internal mood in order to actually be a servant of Lord Chaitanya's movement. He wonderfully gave the example of how Mahaprabhu would first bring people a little close, getting them to chant the holy names, but then he would keep them with him to a certain point, and then when they were ready, he would then embrace them. And in his embrace, that Shakti, you could say, also entered into those devotees. So I think that is what you were just describing, how when we embrace, when we go out, then there's also that Shakti that comes in from following the order. So there's this tie between the Dharma-sindhu and the karuna-sindhu, that when you accept the order. And we will be discussing the order also, Mahaprabhu's order, Ami Agya, and that will be in our series as well. Thank you.
And we all, you and I and all of us, God brothers and God sisters, we had this amazing experience with Prabhupada in that we would see qualities developing within us, or I wouldn't say developing, activated within us that we really didn't have. Like where did that come from? I was never that compassionate before. You had that experience, certain qualities.
Yeah.
That's the power of course, Prabhupada's presence and the power of the Sankirtan movement. And I think one of the reasons is, this is a beautiful thought, that if you're going to represent Mahaprabhu successfully, he will give you the necessities, the qualities, the empowerment, the knowledge, the energy. He'll give it to you because now, you're the soldier. Here's your gun, here's your ammunition, here are your boots. And in one lecture I was in Los Angeles, probably in 1972. Probably everyone has heard this, but I was there, so it's significant for me. I don't remember the context, but Prabhupada said, I think the context was some devotees were starting to leave, and that was being reported to Prabhupada. There was for some reason, I don't know why, what the situation was. And Prabhupada said, this movement will spread with you or without you. In other words, if you leave, it's still going to go on. But if you stay, you'll get the credit. And so that concept of, if I stay, Krishna will use me, therefore he'll give me the gun, the bullets, the boots, the uniform, the backpack, everything I need. He'll give it to me. That was my, young devotee in mind. That was just my immediate thought. Well, it's going to spread with or without us. So if I'm going to spread it, I'm pretty useless. What do I know? I'm just a young man. So he's going to have to give it. And so we saw that. We went out and did it. Like I'm saying, we don't want to go out, and then we go out and this compassion overwhelms us, and this Dharma overwhelms us. No, we have to do this. We have to do this. It's like it's so beautiful. It's almost like a drug, isn't it? Like they're giving the drug of compassion, the drug of mercy.
This injection.
I think that's important for devotees to understand. Like, well, I'm afraid to do something. Don't be afraid. Just step up to the plate, execute the order, and as the Prabhupada was told by Rupa Goswami, I'll do everything. As Bhaktisiddhanta was told by the Panchatattva disciplic succession, we'll do everything. And that way we can overcome our fears of our disqualification. Yeah, it's already happening. Somebody's
we
going
do
to
have
do it.
some questions.
Okay.
Let's see. Nita Sheta, let's see if I can. Quite long here.
Okay.
Nita Katil. Along with the mood of compassion and the duty-bound service, does a devotee also carry the mood of lolya, great attraction towards Krishna? How does that tie into compassion?
Well, thank you for that question. Any kind, lolyam is, you can look at lolyam in different ways. Let's look at lolyam as a symptom of advancement, because that kind of greed, lolyam means greed, that, it's like you have to have it, but how do you get it? Well, you get it through association of more advanced devotees and your own advancement. So let's just say that lolyam, it evolves through hearing, through association, through your practice. So yes, therefore, because lolyam is also an advanced stage, as an advanced stage, compassion comes as a byproduct of advancement. But if we just want to look at lolyam as a desire, to say to help the conditioned souls, or a desire in general to be a better devotee and to do better service, then what we were just saying would answer that question. That didn't Prabhupada say that, Pancharatna Prabhu? Like, put on the uniform, and the uniform will direct you, something like that. You've heard that?
I've heard it, but I heard it from another context, so I'm not sure. Prabhupada
I remember hearing Prabhupada say that. Put on the uniform, and the uniform will, like once you're wearing the uniform, it's kind of like you'll know what to do. So I think it's the same point, that if you have the lolyam, the willingness to put yourself out there, then the compassion will come, because that's one of your weapons that will need. Maybe one of the most, if not the most important weapon, because it's what motivates you, and it's what people feel when you're with them that melts their heart.
Yes.
So,
that was another point of Bhakti Maharaj about the need for the interaction, that there's a certain connection that takes place between another soul and the devotee, in which there's this transmission of feeling, yes, this is something real to receive.
And also, you know how powerful it is to meet a person who has deep compassion. How that it's a unique experience, and when you meet someone who's a unique person, you don't forget that person. I never forgot the first devotee I met, because they were just different, and I could see that he was so sincere about telling me about the Maha Mantra and Krishna consciousness, and you can't replace that. It's not the words. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember his, what I experienced. And Maya Angelou, you know her, that author?
Yes,
Maya
I've heard
she said you won't remember what a person said, but you'll remember how you felt. And if you look at Prabhupada's memories, look and listen. So many devotees will describe, what was happening at this time, and Prabhupada gave a lecture, and it's pretty typical. They'll say, I don't remember anything he said, but what they remember is the experience.
Yeah.
So compassion is the tool, the weapon that melts other people's hearts, maybe more than anything, because they feel that you actually care. And if we actually care, then that's going to have a huge impact on the world, because there's not a lot of people that actually care. about other people.
Well, I do hope, following your example, that as we accept the Dharma-sindhu, that we will find the entrance into the karuna-sindhu. I think there is a pathway there.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's not automatic. We're not conditioned to be compassionate.
Yeah,
We're conditioned
yeah,
in the
exactly.
other direction.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, let me tell you a beautiful story. So, maybe like a month or so ago, or 5 weeks ago, the Russian devotees in the United States and Canada had a festival at a retreat center near Alachua, and so they invited me to come for part of that. And I got to see a play they put on, and the play was the history of the devotees being thrown in prison, being persecuted. That's the word.
Yes.
And so they had these scenes in which the KGB were interrogating them, and the KGB were telling them, if you don't tell me what you're doing, where the books are, where the other devotees are, where everything is, we're going to throw you in prison. And they would tell them, in prison you will be given drugs that will destroy your brain. You'll be tortured in this way. They told them everything that was going to happen. So there's this scene of one devotee, and he's staring out at us, the audience, and KGB is on his side speaking to him and telling him all these horrendous things that are going to happen. And the KGB, he's kind of nice. He's saying, I don't want you to have to go to jail. Just tell us where the other devotees are. Just, you're going to ruin your whole life. You'll have no future. You may be in prison for life. You may die in prison. And it shows the devotee and thinking, what should I do? What should I do? And it builds up, and the devotee says, no. And then he picks him up and takes him off to jail. It was such an emotional thing. And we're all thinking, okay, what would have I done if I were in that situation? And everybody was doubting whether they would have done that. I mean, devotees were crying. It's amazing. So when we think of compassion, like, well, how far will we go with our compassion? Vasudeva Datta.
Hare Krishna. Oh,
yeah. So these are beautiful meditations, aren't they?
Yeah. And it's a prayer. That was just another takeaway from yesterday, was that how when we approach our service, we approach it in the beginning with these prayers. How do we have the compassion?
Yeah.
How do we do this for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada?
Yeah, these are our aspirations. When I think of Vasudeva Datta, I said, okay, I mean, I don't like to suffer. I don't know about you, but, I have a callus on my toe, and it's like a real botheration.
And this is not just, okay, I'll take one for the team, and then, then we've won, right?
Yeah.
But no, this is it.
And of course, the beauty is that Vasudeva said, I want to take it. And Mahaprabhu said, don't worry. We will send them back to Godhead. You don't have to suffer. So that's faith in the protection. But that's not what's going on in his mind. Actually, I will suffer.
No, I mean, we might look at that and say, well, he's just saying that because he knows that actually, Mahaprabhu is going to.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Looks.
It'll be a good story for the.
It'll be a good one. Yeah, it makes me look good. I'm so compassionate.
But it shows.
No, he actually felt that. Oh,
yeah. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that where there's prema, there must be compassion. They can't. It's like sun and sunshine. Right? Where there's prema, there's compassion. Where there's prema, there's humility. Where there's prema, there's forgiveness. It's just so as we advance in bhakti, the compassion is just going to keep growing, and maybe one day we'll actually feel that way. Now we can't imitate it, but now, like you say, we pray for it. But this is the process. All these things come with bhakti, the 26 qualities, and that's the level of compassion. And Prabhupada said that's even more merciful than Jesus. Who could imagine? I would become more merciful. But ultimately we can say, but that's what Prabhupada's asking us. This, like, have this compassion, because when we have that, then we know for sure ISKCON will, and Gaudiya Vaishnavism will succeed. It has to succeed if devotees are on that level of compassion. But if it's my agenda, fighting for my own needs, then that, where's the compassion in that? Doesn't work. We have a question here. Should we read it? You see it? On the chat,
we have
private.
On the chat, because we have comments
on the private chat. I can read it.
Private chat. Okay. Well,
His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, institution is
internal question.
Yeah. Institution is a necessary evil in this age. With this, how can we make sure the mood of Sankirtan is preserved? Institution is a necessary evil.
The dams and the dikes of the institutional religion.
Yeah. Institution, if it goes south, then it disrupts the preaching. If it goes north, it becomes a great facility for the preaching. This is a big question. I think we need a whole class for this, but I can't think of anything better than respect and humility to make an institution work, and compromise. I respect you enough that I will listen to you. I will honor your thoughts. I'm humble enough to be able to compromise even if I disagree with you, and respectful and humble enough to maintain a good relationship with you, even if I disagree with you. I think, and then the institution can perform its function, which only an institution can perform. If you have 100 little ISKCONs, it's not going to work the same way as one where we're all together. That saying? Alone you can go fast, together you can go far. So it takes longer, it's harder, but you go farther. So that's just my meditation and my realization. Humility and respect. You can't replace that. And even in the corporate world now, they're saying the greatest quality of a leader is humility, because then he will listen, he will respect, he will pay attention even to juniors and what they're thinking, because he's humble, and he won't always think he's right.
And that will produce what Srila Prabhupada asked for, cooperation.
Yes. Yeah. Because
that's the glue.
Yeah. And so cooperation is a beautiful word, but it's not something you can do without having the qualities that would impel one to cooperate. It's just by getting it in your head, I know I should cooperate, but I don't like you and I don't want to cooperate. That's kind of normal in a sense. So, compassion, humility, respect, these are all very evolved qualities that develop in the heart of advanced devotee. But my personal experience is, if we don't have them, we have to practice them anyway, because that's what Prabhupada wants us to do, and that's part of sadhana, is to practice those qualities. So I always say sadhana, you have sadhana after 9 o'clock, which is the practice of those Vaishnava qualities in your life, and that's how they develop. Otherwise, you wait for them to develop, well, good luck. You have to be...
Just on that point, I was talking to some devotees here in Calcutta who are all, they live in a little ashram together where I was staying, but they go to work every day. And they said, so how do we preach? I said, well, you preach by your qualities.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people around you may not be interested in our philosophy, may not be interested in our practices, but everyone appreciates the qualities of a perfect gentleman.
Yeah,
and that was Prabhupada's response.
Totally.
How can you tell one of your followers they're a perfect gentleman?
Exactly. And
by the way, another plug. That's our other series, Srila Prabhupada's qualities. It's called The Perfect Gentleman, and we're exploring every Ekadashi. We explore through the memories, the memories that you mentioned. Like you, I also keep going. I'm my third or fourth time round.
Yeah, addict. Prabhupada addict. Prabhupada Leela addict, yes.
We should be. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mahatma Prabhu. We have run out of our time today. And we look forward to much more. You and I, you know, we have lots to do together too. And we'll be talking about exploring. This whole series is meant to bring out what we just did today, the principles that underlie the Sankirtan movement, and to try to bring these into the sort of a foundational cement that current and future generations can rely on to continue the Sankirtan. Thank you. So, everyone, let's have an applause.
Oh,
thank you. And Hare Krishna. See you again. Haribol. Hare
Gauranga. Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna.